Welcome back to the show. Check out these headlines. Crypto ETFs going live? The answer is yes. And Western Union pilot stable coins and Fibonacci levels take us $8, $13, $27. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Look at this. We're back to $4 trillion market cap. We're getting close. We're getting close back to that all-time high for cryptocurrency market cap. We're up 1%, but 115,800 plus for Bitcoin now, 4,100 plus for Ethereum. XRP grabbing the number 4 spot again. We're 265. We're up 1.4 on the 24. We're up 10% on the 7-day. Looking at the range of price between 262 and 269. We will keep an eye on it, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to tell you about this. It's iTrust Capital. Listen, they have the best crypto, gold, and silver IRAs on the planet. Why are you not using them right before they pass the legislation, which is going to unlock 12.5 trillion in 401ks alone? Just that alone. I tell you, this is a remarkable opportunity that doesn't come around often. And they also now have the PCA account, which is a way for you to store your long-term assets without the fear of losing them. We know attacks are at a high level. They're at an all-time high level right now. Help protect yourself. Help protect your long-term investment. Get your IRA set up, and then get the rest of your portfolio put over into PCA where you can really protect yourself. Now, listen, they call it a closed loop system because you go in with your cash in crypto, but it can only come out as cash and it can only go to your US checking account. So God forbid you give your information, click on something you shouldn't have. The worst thing that could happen here is the money gets sent to your checking account. Start getting the peace of mind you deserve. Click the link underneath the video and get started today. You're going to love it. And they got staking available on the platform too. Take advantage of it. Take a look at this. Securitize is to become a public company with an IPO valuation of $1.25 billion. How about that? This is pretty exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Securitize. Shout out to Carlos Domingo. This marks the first integration of real USD into Securitize's platform. This is why this is so important. With an additional use cases and assets plan, Securitize is also integrating with the XRP ledger to expand access and bring new utility to the XRPL ecosystem. Partnering with Ripple to integrate real USD into tokenization infrastructure is a major step forward in automating liquidity for tokenized assets. This is all said by Carlos Domingo, co-founder and CEO of Securitize. He says, together, we're delivering real-time settlement and programmable liquidity across a new class of compliant on-chain investment products, bringing the full potential of blockchain into institutional finance. Shout out to Carlos. Nobody says it better. And then looking at this right here, let me see. Yes. This is what I want right here. So there we could see a breakdown, ladies and gentlemen, of Bitcoin price. And it could get down to the 97, 98,000 area towards the end of the year. Really?
Down to that 97,000 towards the end of the year. Again, I know that's not super attractive with everybody in the shorter term here that may be looking for this to really get amped up. But I do see that as just nothing more than a range opportunity that we came up, we topped at that 126. This is the overall range we've been trading in for Bitcoin. This is also why I look to that 120 area pretty heavily, because it would just be a pushback to the overall high side. You can see it's around 121-ish. And then if we get a rejection from here, though, Paul, 197 is what I actually envision that we come down to. And overall, still looking for that to be an area where we could see a move back up to all-time highs as we branch into 2026, I guess, which would allude to an elongated season at that point, an elongated bull run at that point.
If we go under 100K, that is going to have everybody running for the hills.
And he's not wrong about that. Shout out to Paul Barron and the gentleman he had on there. You can watch the full link. It's on my channel, or Paul's if you'd like to see it. Then we have this. Eric Trump says the UAE and other countries are actively buying Bitcoin. Well, that would make sense because we also see, and I think it was, where do I have that here? Did I skip that around? Hold on one second here. Because France has also announced that they're looking to buy a position in crypto, and it might be 2% or something, but still, other countries looking to take a position in it is what I'm looking for to let me know I can leave it in my portfolio. If I don't see that, I'll be making a change, not financial advice. Take a listen to what Eric Trump says here.
Why should any government be
Hold on, I got the volume busting here. These levels are always so different. My apologies.
buying Bitcoin? Because it's the single greatest performing asset over the last decade, increasing in value 70% a year, year over year, every year. Like Germany a couple of years ago, there was a great article. You might know the exact numbers, but Germany had like 30,000 Bitcoin or something along those lines, and they sold it right away. They monetized it into their currency, and it was like the worst investment ever made by a government. And by the way, that's a pretty damn low bar, as you know, right? The government should definitely have certain crypto assets on their balance sheet, mainly Bitcoin. And actually, the United States government does, right? You have a lot of forfeitures,
Correct.
and they've taken a great stance saying that we're not selling any of it. You have a lot of countries around the world that are actively buying. If you go to the UAE, if you go to a lot of countries, they are actively putting that in their treasuries. And you look at the Fortune 500 companies, they are actively hoarding Bitcoin. The biggest families, the biggest companies, countries, sovereign wealth funds, and individuals are all hoarding Bitcoin, right? It's why it's been as explosive as it is. And it's funny, people are like, oh, well, Bitcoin's down like 3% now. It's like this time last year, Bitcoin was at like 55,000 or 60,000 roughly. It's had unbelievable explosive growth. Why should it?
There's no question about it. It certainly has. And again, I say, if I see it adopted in these strategic reserves around the world, well, then I feel good about having it in my portfolio. If that should change, then if that doesn't happen, then I will be pulling out. Look, I believe that this entire space is created as a government psyop, from Bitcoin right on down to XRP. It's all been commissioned, or however you want to say it, to make yourself feel comfortable at your house. But that's where it's at for me. I don't think the US government sits back and lets any of this stuff happen, no matter what it is, without their own approval. That's just how I see it. And the world needs a new asset class. How do you get out of a problem when all the sovereign paper money of the world is super stressed and exasperated and can't go on any further? You create a new asset class to dump it all in and then reboot the system. Isn't that what we're watching? Well, I think so. Right here, we see Bitwise is excited. Bitwise has the introducing the BSOL, which is Bitwise Solana Staking ETF. They just filed a Solana Spot ETF registration statement, which will be visible in the SEC today. And she was told, and this is Eleanor Terrett, shout out to her, and NYSE approved the 8A filing this morning, making the ETF effective and ready to launch. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. And today it is launched. So Canary Funds, shout out to Stephen McClure, Spot, HBAR, and Litecoin ETFs are now effective and will begin trading on NASDAQ, which is today. This is from yesterday, I'm pretty sure, right here. Yeah. So it's all happening today. It is going down. This is super exciting. And matter of fact, let's get the rundown here from James Seifert, who thinks XRP is a shit
there's
coin.
like 35 different assets that have been filed for. So I mean, some of them are leveraged, some of them are inverse. Like there's, you name it, the issuers are filing to launch these things. But as you mentioned, the government's in a shutdown, so I don't think anything new is going to come to market while the government is shut down. That's my current expectations. I guess anything could happen because technically the rules are, if the SEC doesn't stop you within 75 days, we can get into the weeds there if we really want. But basically, the new rules are basically, if the SEC signs off on things or doesn't stop you, you can launch the product within 75 days of filing. Realistically, there's only 9-ish assets that are going to get approved before the end of 2025 that meet these new generic listing standards for like traditional spot products. But there's other ways to get around and launch, like, these pseudo products that are almost like spot or leverage or use derivatives and things like that to provide exposure in ETF wrapper. But as you said, I don't think any of those things are likely going to launch while the government is shut down.
Yeah. Do you think that these ETFs, which historically have had a significant impact on the crypto markets and have seen incredible inflows, Do you think with the recent uprising of digital asset treasury companies in this publicly listed format, because now those are sort of in the spotlight and you can get exposure through these DATs, do you think we're going to see a little bit less anticipation and excitement around the ETFs when they do inevitably go live?
Yeah, I mean, so I have a few thoughts here, right? Like the long tail of assets. I mentioned there's 30 plus assets that are filed for ETFs. Some have like 20 plus filings related to them, like Solana and XRP and other Bitcoin and Ethereum products. I think the longer tail of assets are of assets like digital specific digital currencies. They're probably not going to get a ton of interest, right? Like just because you launch like the 47th largest digital asset in an ETF wrapper doesn't mean that this asset's going to take off because it simply has an ETF. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin ETFs, part of the reason they did so well is because there was so much pent up demand. And when they launched, Bitcoin was roaring, right? Like it launched into early January and everyone was expecting it. A lot of money poured in. Initially, it was actually kind of a sell the news event. But long term, money kept pouring in and it was a positive thing for the space. Ethereum is the opposite. For the first 5 months of its launch, they had net outflows for Ethereum ETFs because, you know, market had dumped. It was in the summer. There wasn't a lot of demand. It had came too quickly after the Bitcoin ETF launched. The narratives weren't clear. But then Trump got elected and it took off. And it's just another avenue for people to play the space, particularly TradFi types of people. So I think the same thing can happen for these other assets. So I think things like Solana and XRP, we know there's pent up demand there.
We sure do, no doubt about it. It probably hurt him to even say it. But the reality is we sure do. And matter of fact, how much pent-up demand? Well, let's listen here. This is the CEO of crypto.com, I believe it is, and he's talking about Chris from CEO crypto.com, talking about 8 billion in flows for ETFs for XRP alone.
Next couple of years. I think altcoins that have strong flows will outperform. I don't know if you guys seen this, but there's a forecast saying that the ETF for XRP is going to attract 8 billion of inflows next year.
How about that? 8 billion in inflows. Sign me up, baby. Sign me up. That's why we're here. And while we're watching all of this happen, now I played this clip earlier in the first video, but it's relative to where we're going today. And listen, think about the next 5 or 6 months. Kevin O'Leary believes that in the next 5 or 6 months, the largest holders of U.S. Treasuries will be stablecoin issuers.
Seconds we have left. But I think that's fascinating now if we all almost inadvertently move away from the dollar and what effects that has on the inflationary aspects of the dollar.
First of all, this guy doesn't understand that we're not moving away from the dollar. The whole new digital on-chain economy is about the proliferation of the U.S. dollar and having new issuers of U.S. holders of U.S. bonds.
We're not really moving away from the dollar. We're moving away from the paper currency.
That's
right.
We're
moving to the U.S. Treasury bill, shorter duration than 92 days. I think in the next 5 or 6 months, the largest holder of U.S. Treasuries will be stablecoins. And it's still the good old American economy that's backing that up. And that and everybody trusts. 52 cents of every dollar invested around the world goes in the American economy. I think this is a good outcome. And I believe what I just told you will be rapidly moving forward because it will be law. It's not crypto cowboy land anymore. We have policy.
He's absolutely right. We do have a law coming, and it's the market infrastructure bill. And let us not forget, China and U.S. are suggesting they may have a trade deal worked out. That's exciting. Let us not forget that we're waiting for the government shutdown to end. Let us not forget we're waiting for the market infrastructure bill. Let us not forget we're waiting for the crypto ETF approvals. Let us not forget we need the banking charter and the Fed master account, skitty or otherwise. So that's where we are. And all of this could unfold in the next month. All of it. Doesn't mean it has to, but I mean, we really are at a place where we could see this happen in the next month or two. Remarkable time we're living in. Meanwhile, Western Union to pilot stablecoin powered transfers for its customers across 200 countries, backing up everything that Kevin O'Leary just said, and I backed up. So there you have it. And I want to remind everybody, Ripple Rail Financial that they just recently acquired does 10% of all stablecoin settlements business to business. So that will include Western Union, I would imagine. Then we have, what about yield? What about the moment of yield? There are products coming out now where you can get yield and lending and DeFi and the rest of it, whether it's Flare or whether it's Axelar. MXRP, and listen to Georgios Flachos here, lay down that you can earn 10% yield on your XRP.
One of the first products that launched on top of our platform was MXRP. It is the first on-chain asset that allowed users to earn 10% yield on their XRP. So by passively holding XRP over a year, of course, there are risks involved. You can earn 10% on your XRP. And XRP holders love their XRP. They don't like to sell it. So if you hold for 6-7 years into MXRP, you will end up with twice as much money as you would otherwise, right? Assuming, of course, like the returns continue over the years. So it's a very simple value proposition. And we need more of these products in order to onboard the world on chain. Because if you have assets that you cannot use productively, you cannot earn yield on, people will just much rather hold dollars and other currencies, right? So you need a good reason for people to come on chain and also hold their dollars on chain. I think yield is going to be the key driver.
I think he's saying it the right way here. Yield will be the key driver to drive people on chain. Look, if you know that you can get 10% here, and he's right also that we need other companies coming out offering array of these different offerings, then we can really get the market competing. And when the market competes, we get the best products that win. That's how this works, right? This is why we wanted the case to end for so long for the SEC and Ripple, so we could find out what the open market looks like with no case hanging over our head. And now we know that we've won. Watch out, world. We are in phase 2. Wave 2, right? The Citi Banks, the BBVAs, the DZ Bank, right? We're working with all of them, by the way. HSBC, Visa, Goldman Sachs, you name it. They're in here directly or indirectly tied back to us. And then that really brings us to highlight this. $2.6 trillion Citibank partners with Coinbase to improve stablecoin utility and digital asset adoption for its clients. Well, here we have it again, exactly like we talked about with the post here a second ago with Kevin O'Leary. Stable coins are going to be a real entry point, just like custody is, right? But this opens the door for the traditional financial legacy system and institutions to begin to play in this space and then offer it to its clients. That's really where we're at here. By the way, Citibank is also a partner of Ripple. Just saying, right? Then here's a reminder too that Citigroup is also an advisor on Evernorth. And we all remember what Evernorth is, don't we? Evernorth is the world's largest XRP Treasury that plans to go public in 2026. And Evernorth is stacking $1 billion in XRP before its NASDAQ debut. So come on in. And how are they going to get it when they get all of this running? Primarily fund open market purchases of XRP to build the world's leading institutional XRP Treasury. Every single one of us have been put on notice, because they're coming to buy it off of the retail exchanges that you and I get it from. How long will it take before it's all gone? And the next thing you know, prices start moving from $8 to $13 to $27 and beyond. I don't know how long any of this takes, but I know that they believe that it's going to happen, or otherwise Ashish Birla and crew would not have gone off to start the world's largest XRP Treasury to go public on NASDAQ. And what does that look like when it's up and running? I bet pretty damn amazing. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'm here for this and so much more. I will catch all of you on the next one.